I got transmigrated into an orc ABO novel, and ended up as the foil to the main male lead. My brother was smart and capable. Me, lazy, gluttonous, and only my face was worth looking at. To avoid starving, I had no choice but to try fishing to feed myself. Who knew that as soon as I tossed some grass into the water, I caught a fish orc. His silver tail shimmered in the water, his pearly white teeth lightly biting the grass. Pretty little Omega. Want to eat me? 01. I woke up from the darkness, only to feel weight in my arms. Then someone shoved me hard. I nearly face-planted right there. I turned to look at the cave. A young man stood at the entrance, his gaze a mix of contempt and disdain. Ethan, you should leave. I won't let Dad and Mom keep supporting you anymore. A crowd had gathered nearby. Before I could even figure out what was going on, how did I end up here? My long hair brushed my cheeks and got in the way, so I tucked it behind my ear. As soon as half my face was exposed, I heard a collective intake of breath. The man across from me spoke with raw disgust and jealousy. The tribe's food is what orcs hunt with all their might. It's not meant to be wasted on someone like you who just freeloads. I was still in a daze. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my head. I couldn't help but moan. Ugh, Ethan, don't think we'll let you stay just because you're playing the pitiful act. Lucas has already agreed to be with me. My mind scrambled. Memories from my whole life were being forcibly poured in. The person in front of me wasn't anyone else. It was my brother in this body. The main Omega I'd seen in the orc ABO novel, Oliver. And I was the greedy, lazy, gluttonous, but handsome villainous male supporting character. The scene was set right after the tribe chief's son, my fiancé, Lucas, was injured. The original me immediately abandoned him. The brave main Omega chased after Lucas, and after his injuries healed, the two got engaged. And now, I was about to be kicked out of the cave. 02. A commotion arose a short distance away. Lucas, the tribe's top warrior, had arrived. Seeing me sprawled on the ground, he struggled, then turned his face toward Oliver. The chief has learned about Ethan's actions and asked me to convey his decision. The story unfolded. Because I abandoned Lucas, I was kicked out of the family. The chief and the shaman deemed me merely a pretty face, an unstable element capable of sparking conflict among alpha orcs, and forced me to mate with an alpha before the rainy season, or face exile and fend for myself. Because of my spoiled nature, no one in the tribe would accept me. I was cast out and died during the great animal migration of the rainy season. Upon hearing this, Oliver immediately grabbed Lucas's hand, his eyes wary as he watched me. I rolled my eyes internally. Sure, we liked men. Sure, we were a little Omega, but we had standards. Okay. Lucas was all muscle, his face the rugged, tough guy type. Honestly, not my aesthetic. I quietly packed up the animal skins on the ground. I wasn't unwilling to take the stone bowls, but I simply couldn't lift them. Even in this ancient world, I had the fragile constitution of a modern college student. No wonder I didn't fit in. As I walked away, Lucas suddenly called out, Ethan. I glanced back. Oliver glared at me with pure venom. Not waiting for Lucas to finish, I immediately grabbed my bundle of skins and ran. Our styles don't match. We can't be a couple. Damn it. 03. I stopped in front of a drafty animal skin tent. Honestly, caves weren't so bad after all. Most of the tribe lived on the mountains, carving stone caves into the cliffs. Only the elderly, weak, or sick lived in tents at the base. In case of danger, they'd be the first line of defense. And my position, it was clear they were singling me out. I was far from the caves and, even among the elderly and infirm, I was on the very edge. What could I do? Just go with it. To make matters worse, misfortune always finds the unlucky. My tattered tent wasn't even repaired yet. My head spun, and my stomach started growling. The bone needles in my hands weren't sharp, and the skins were stiff. Exhausted, with aches in my arms and broken skin on my feet, I flung the bone needle aside. Ugh, Lucas was actually nice. At least he brought me roasted meat. Thinking of his 1.9-meter frame and bulging muscles, I shook my brain to clear it. Better forget it. Delicate eastern beauty and violent foreign green giant really shouldn't cross paths. 04. My eyes landed on the bone needle on the ground. The thread was pulled from a special vine, super sturdy. A light bulb went off. If I attach bait to it, wouldn't it make a ready-made fishing line? Acting fast, I ran to the river, tied the tenderest grass to the end of the line. The calm lake mirrored the sky. Bored, I leaned over to check my reflection. Pale skin dusted with dirt, hair dry from malnutrition, peach blossom eyes filled with hunger, lips cracked from thirst and biting. TSK, pitifully adorable. For some reason, The tribe's orcs avoided water at all costs. They warned young ones not to approach it, but I looked at the crystal clear water and couldn't see the danger. Sunlight glinted on the surface. A flash deep below caught my eye, but when I focused, nothing was there. Probably just my imagination. My stomach rumbled again. Pouting, I tugged on the lifeless line. Why isn't anything biting? I'm about to starve. I remembered my mom's braised fish back home. My eyes instantly watered. Just after transmigrating, and I already missed home. The water rippled suddenly. I panicked, scrambling back, terrified. Could it be a water monster? Then, a half-meter-long fish leapt from the water straight into my arms, drenching me. Before I could react, it thrashed its tail, smacking me several times. I was utterly stunned. This, wait for the fish by the shore method. I didn't know why this fish was trying to kill itself, but hey, I had food now. I grabbed my bone knife to gut it, but paused. What even comes out first? I'd never cooked before. My hand slipped, and the fish slid back into the water. My fish! I lunged after it and slipped, plunging straight into the water. Glub glub glub. I don't swim. My vision blurred. Just before I blacked out, I saw a pair of silver eyes appear in the water. 05. When I woke up again, the sky was already dark, and my clothes were dry. A shiver ran down my spine. I was about to run back to my tattered tent when I noticed several fish lying on the ground. Cautiously, I scanned the area. No one was around. I picked up the fish and inspected them, 3 in total, each as long as an arm, gutted and cleaned. My fingers traced the neat cuts on their bellies. There was no way these had been done with a bone knife. They looked like modern tools. Still on high alert, I carried the fish back to my tent and started a fire. Even without much salt, they tasted delicious. No sooner had I finished eating than I saw Lucas standing not far away. Ethan, I can forgive you. Ha! He frowned, and out of nowhere, those words came. I nearly jumped out of my skin. As long as you marry me together with Oliver, I can forgive you for abandoning me before. Wait, what are you talking about? Big brother, me, and Oliver, marry you together? You've lost it. Apparently, my dumbfounded look annoyed him. He suddenly stepped forward, grabbing my hand with a burst of force. Marry me or not, you'll marry me. Today, I will have you one way or another. Damn, crazy. Save. I barely got a word out before he clamped a hand over my mouth, restraining me with one arm and dragging me toward the tent. A strong, musky scent hit my nose. It was Lucas's pheromones. I kicked frantically, aiming for his legs, when a rushing sound came from the lake beside us. Then Lucas let out a sudden, agonized scream. He released me, eyes scanning behind him. On the ground, ice shards were broken, and Lucas's blood pooled around them. Taking advantage of the moment, I bolted into the dense forest, following the lake. Damn, I'd expected transmigration might kill me, but I never imagined a grown man could nearly be killed by force. 06. Terrified, I stumbled into a random cave. Too scared to light a fire, I huddled in a dark corner all night until dawn, when I finally dared to make my way down the mountain in the light. On the way, I ran into patrolling orcs, members of Lucas's hunting team. Seeing my dirty, disheveled state, some gave me lecherous looks and mocked me. Ethan, I heard the chief wants you to mate with an orc before the rainy season. If you can't find one, maybe I could take care of you. Ha ha ha. Why do you still smell like Lucas? Did that guy already get his hands on you? One of them approached, grinning creepily, reaching for my face. Smack! I slapped his hand away hard. Back off. Enraged, the orc growled. Don't think Lucas will protect you. He already made it clear. Once he's had his way with you, you'll be raising cubs for our hunting team. Do you really think he'll bond with you? A future chief doesn't pick a mate who only knows how to flirt. He'd pick someone smart and capable, like Oliver. You're just a toy. He stepped closer. I backed up cautiously, not noticing the ground and almost tripping. Suddenly, a shard of ice shot from the water behind me like a missile, grazing my ear and slashing a deep cut across the approaching orc's face. Blood dripped at my feet as the other orcs instinctively surrounded the injured one, defensive and wary. I froze, staring at the ice shard on the ground. Wait, that looked a lot like last night. Whenever I got bullied, it appeared, like it was, defending me. My eyes lit up. Could it be? I'm one of those legendary transmigrated male protagonists who awaken powers and slaughter everything. Is this my ability? 07. Back at the tent, I clutched my stomach and went to look for the fish that had come to attack me yesterday, but it was gone. I stamped my foot in frustration. The tribe's top warrior even steals an Omega's food? Ugh! Angry and starving, I searched for the line, but it was gone too. Wah, I really am cursed. Sitting by the river again. Without a line. I grabbed a piece of grass and tossed it into the water, hoping some nearsighted fish would bite. Bored, I caught my reflection in the water. My mind went blank. My vision blurred, body heating up. Memories of the day Lucas was injured returned. The original body was a famous beauty in the tribe. After reaching adulthood, the tribe's top warrior, Lucas, the chief's son, pursued him. Lucas often brought food and fruits, raising the family's status in the tribe. Oliver and Ethan were only a year apart. Compared to the original body, Oliver's looks were just plain, clean-cut. The original body was weak, so Oliver took on all the household chores. Under parental mockery, Oliver grew increasingly jealous of Ethan and craved the attention that others gave his brother. The original Omega accompanied the tribe's group of Omegas to the forest to gather fruit, a major part of the tribe's food supply. Oliver followed, then suddenly pointed deep into the forest. Ethan, there are tinting fruits over there. Go pick some. The original hesitated. Brother, that's outside the patrol zone. The chief doesn't allow us to go there. Oliver frowned. Impatient. You know I love tinting fruits. Don't you want to help me get some? Ethan paused, staring at Oliver. He had always sensed his brother's jealousy. Oliver's behavior around their parents and the tribe was different from how he treated Ethan privately. Still, he was family. Ethan wanted to get along, so he nodded. Okay, I'll go pick some. Carrying a basket, he stepped out of the safe zone. After a while, he saw no fruit, only animal droppings on the ground. Sensing danger, he turned to run, only to be pounced on by a gray wolf hiding in the trees. Near the lake, the wolf bared its sharp teeth. Drooling, Ethan trembled, using the basket to block its bite. Ah! From the lake's center, a water trail shot forward at incredible speed. The next second, just as the wolf swung the basket aside and aimed for Ethan's neck, a tiger leapt from above, clamping its jaws around the wolf's neck and flinging it away. The wolf instantly died. Lucas! Ethan's voice shook. Before he could react, Lucas, covered in blood, transformed back from the tiger to human form. 08. Lucas hurried over and grabbed Ethan's arm. Shaken from the earlier scare, Ethan's face went pale. He trembled all over and threw himself into Lucas's arms, clutching his hand and crying uncontrollably. Holding the beauty in his arms during the bright spring season, Lucas's eyes reddened. He couldn't hold back any longer. In Ethan's terrified gaze, he pressed him against a large rock at the lake's edge. The scent of iron-tinged pheromones filled the air. Ethan kicked frantically. No, Lucas, I won't ask anymore. But the powerful man's pheromones continued to assault the newly matured Ethan. Ignoring his fear and refusal, strong hands crushed the boy's struggles beneath them. His voice carried the thrill of dominance as he said, "It's fine. Everyone in the tribe knows I'm pursuing you. We will bond eventually. I'll make you my mate as the next chief's partner. We're just bringing the ceremony forward. If you can bear a child before the bonding, the beast god will favor us even more." I don't want to. The fur shirt covering Ethan's torso was torn. In the next moment, Lucas's own chest was ripped open. Blood sprayed onto Ethan's face and body. Amid Lucas's agonized cries, Ethan turned, his face streaked with blood. By the sunlit lakeshore, beneath silver hair, was a stunningly beautiful face. Fins sprouted behind his ears, shimmering in the sunlight. His firm, pale skin extended over muscles and transformed at the waist into a silver fishtail that disappeared into the water. The fins on his forearms looked like colorful ribbons, and his long fingers ended in sharp nails. Their eyes met briefly before he casually looked away, licking the blood from his fingertips. Ethan whispered in a daze, "Beast god." Lucas, panicked, clutched his own bleeding wound, shouting in terror, Merfolk. Oliver, who had been following from behind, burst from the trees and used all his strength to drag Lucas away. With a splash from the lake, the beast god dove into the water and disappeared. Lucas was taken back to the tribe by Oliver. How they came to an agreement is unclear, but the story continued like this. Ethan defied his brother Oliver's warnings, arrogantly venturing deep into the forest, only to be attacked by a gray wolf. At the critical moment, Lucas arrived to save him but ended up accidentally injured because of Ethan. Ethan not only refused to thank Lucas but also refused to care for him or bond with him. Meanwhile, Oliver, the kind, clever, capable brother, cared for Lucas and courageously pursued love. Eventually, they ended up together. No matter how Ethan explained to his parents, having lost Lucas's pursuit, he went from being the tribe's most beautiful Omega to being labeled an unstable factor by the chief and the shaman. Misunderstood, Ethan knelt tearfully before the statue of the beast god. After falling asleep, Ethan transformed into me. 09. I shook my head. Coming back from that strange memory, my fingertips brushed the face reflected in the water. You really are in a sorry state, but do merfolk really exist? Could it have been a hallucination from fear? I jiggled the blade of grass in my hand. My eyes immediately lit up. Merfolk or not, it didn't matter. I pushed all that aside. Food comes first. I tugged on the floating grass, thinking I'd snagged a small fish, but as ripples spread across the water, it wasn't a fish, it was a person. Silver white hair curved gracefully, followed by bright silver eyes, a high nose, rosy lips, a rolling Adam's apple. Water slid down his hair, across his chest, down the grooves of his abs. Holy, it's really a merfolk. I froze, unsure how to react. The merfolk, meanwhile, bit the grass gently with small, sharp, pearly teeth, eyes innocent. His voice was as clear and musical as a mountain spring. Pretty little Omega, do you want to eat me? A faint salty sea scent hit my nose as he spoke. The glands on the back of my neck, previously unaffected by Lucas, suddenly heated uncontrollably. I instinctively reached to touch them, but the silver merfolk grabbed my hand. His icy, water-damp fingers pressed gently on my gland, not calming me, but as if flipping a mysterious switch. Suddenly, the salty air was replaced by the strong scent of roses, then slowly spread around us. A subtle, teasing, and careful intimacy followed, and then the rose scent enveloped everything. I just thought the merfolk smelled so good. I unconsciously licked my chapped lips. I was so hungry. The merfolk's hand pressed gently but firmly, tilting my head forward. Shocked, I met his red lips with mine. Cool water slipped through our parted lips as he drew all my breath away. His strong silver tail flicked powerfully, and with a turn, he cradled me and sank with me into the river's depths. 10. Legends say a merfolk will fall in love with the first human they see. Their love is possessive, they hold the human tightly, drowning them in the water, and then swim with their body through the deep sea forever. Underwater, I had no oxygen. Fear was my first reaction. I pounded on his shoulders, begging him to let me up to breathe, but he gripped my forearm. His other hand pressed on my gland, lips locked on mine, refusing to release me even for a moment. As we struggled, we sank deeper and deeper. I noticed the merfolk's silver eyes locked on me, his fins fluttered in the water, and below one ear were 3 thin slits that opened and closed. Gills. Realizing I could get oxygen from his mouth, I pressed myself closer, trying to survive the water comfortably. Seeing I was no longer afraid, he relaxed slightly, but the current tried to separate us. I clung to him, lips glued to his. Seeing my obedience, he wrapped his arms around my waist. His tail swung, building momentum, and we shot through the water like a projectile. I wanted to scream, but his lips silenced me. Eyes closed, I let him carry me through the water. When he finally stopped, I smelled the bitter tang of seawater. My legs were on a rock. I stood and looked around. Well, water everywhere. I turned to the merfolk. He dragged his tail and sat beside me. I felt like crying. Is this normal for you merfolk? He tilted his silver head at me, shook it, and held my fingertips. Mating ritual, he said. Ha! I was still in shock, but a fresh sea scent reached me, followed by roses. On the distant sea, the sunset dyed the water red. The merfolk's tail swayed gently in the water. He tilted his head toward the sunset, singing softly. The sea rippled, fish gathered below, gulls circled above, dolphins leapt, and a whale spouted water. Amid the breathtaking scene, I noticed something astonishing. The silver merfolk tail was slowly turning, pink-silver. 11. The sun had finally set, marking the end of the ritual. I sat on a rock, eating the raw fish from the large shell the merfolk had caught for me, though it didn't taste very good. Honestly, I'm a typical person from my country. I need cooked food. Raw fish just isn't something I can get used to. Seeing that I wasn't eating, the merfolk's tail swished irritably. My gaze drifted down, and I couldn't resist. I reached out with a guilty hand. Can I touch your tail? The merfolk blinked those beautiful eyes, a faint smile lifting his lips. He placed my hand onto his pink-silver tail. My tail is only for you to touch. Your name is so nice, and your tail feels amazing. So smooth. I was completely lost in the joy of touching a legendary creature's tail. I didn't notice his eyes gradually deepening in color, silver blending into a faint pink. A cold wind blew across the sea, chilling me to the bone. He lifted me again, diving into the water. We moved swiftly through the waves until he finally set me down on a small island surrounded by water. I climbed onto the island, brushing his hair. See you tomorrow. I'm cold, Need to start a fire first. He didn't speak, just turned and disappeared into the sea. Nearby, I found a small cave and gathered dry twigs, scraping my hands almost raw. Finally, the fire caught. Alone on the island, I figured it didn't matter whether I kept my clothes on. I stripped off my fur clothing and laid it over the twigs to dry. The faint scent of seawater teased me, and the rose aroma flared again. My glands burned, body heating. I touched my forehead, hot. If I get a fever, there's no medicine here. I glanced outside and nearly jumped out of my skin. In the darkness, something black was crawling from the sea toward the shore. Slowly, it stood and walked toward me. No way, it can't be a ghost, right? I had already transmigrated, ghosts wouldn't even surprise me. Clutching the firewood, I froze until the ghost got close, and realized it was James. His tail transformed into legs. It's you, James, you scared me. I exhaled in relief and tossed the firewood into the flames. 12. Then I glanced at him, and my face instantly burned red. Why aren't you wearing clothes? James blinked innocently and said softly, you aren't wearing any either. I looked down, immediately reaching for the fur clothing, but he gripped my fingertips. By firelight, his silver hair carried a faint red hue, the sea scent drifting toward me. Little Omega, it's time for the ritual. I froze. What ritual? He smiled, dangerously tempting, and said, mate ritual. His long, dark lashes fluttered. My heart raced, and I swallowed hard. Before I could process it, he pressed me down onto the fur clothing. He towered over me, silver hair spilling across me, eyes now tinted pink. The sea scent thickened as he parted my calves with firm hands. Blushing, I stammered, I never agreed to bond as mates, but you touched my tail. Ha! To a merfolk, touching their tail is a mating signal. Before I could think it through, his lips clamped over mine. I was pinned. Beneath me was soft, fire-warmed fur and sand. Above me was James, a gorgeous, doll-like merfolk with the scent of the sea. I was burning, lips dry, body trembling. Roses bloomed in the center of the ocean. By dawn, I lay exhausted on top of him, hoarse and dazed, staring at the long-extinguished fire. Finally, it was over. 13. James had originally lived with his parents in the sea, but merfolk are naturally independent. Once he could hunt alone, his father drove him to live on his own. He had just come of age this year. After living on James's island for several days, his silver tail finally shed the last hint of pink. Only then did he agree to take me back to land. Holding his hand, he walked through the forest. Frowning, he looked uneasy being far from the coast. We came across some bamboo. I instructed James to use his sharp nails to work, and soon we had 2 small water containers. Seeing the water poured in without leaking, James's eyes sparkled, and he pressed his head against my neck. Ethan, you're amazing. A simple compliment, yet it made me melt, lips curling uncontrollably. The first container was small, just for testing, barely enough for me, let alone him. I told him to get a larger bamboo stalk. To my surprise, I spotted a chili pepper on the ground. Oh my god, my favorite thing, spicy food. I crouched and grabbed it immediately. The distance between us wasn't far, and I didn't feel threatened, until a sharp pain on my neck and someone picked me up. When I woke, I was sitting by the tribe's campfire, surrounded by tribal members. At the front sat the chief and the shaman. I glared at Lucas, standing with Oliver. Annoying, this never ends, does it? 14. The chief at the front slammed his hand on the stone seat. Ethan, you've deserted the tribe without permission, disobeying the tribe and the beast god. Today, we will pass judgment on you again. I rubbed my neck, inexplicably furious. As an Omega, just bonded with my alpha, suddenly kidnapped, forced among unfamiliar alphas, physically and mentally uncomfortable, I was not in a good mood. Judgment? Isn't that what you said? You wanted me to bond with a beastman before the rainy season, or be expelled. Fine. I left. Why kidnap me back? My glare swept across them. They were momentarily speechless. I lost control, storming over to Oliver and shouting. And you like Lucas. So what? Others don't like you because you're ugly, and you're jealous I'm pretty. You tricked me into the forest to be attacked by wild animals, then acted like the good guy afterward. Who do you think you are? Watch your language with your brother. My parents stepped forward, but I turned on them. And you? The reason we brothers fought is because of your favoritism, mocking one for being less able to align with the chief, flattering the other when they rise. Is this how parents act? Glancing at Lucas, I pointed at him angrily. You call yourself the tribe's top warrior. With what skill? If it weren't for your father being the chief, who would respect you? Why did I reject you? Don't you even know your own Alpha CDC numbers? Twice you forced an Omega, and you still call yourself a warrior? Pathetic. I tore away the leaf covering my neck, exposing the glands fully marked by James, pointing at them. See? I'm bonded with the beastman. Stop scheming against me. Lucas's eyes instantly reddened at my foreign scent, reaching for my arm. I stepped back, annoyed. Ethan, Oliver, seeing his reputation destroyed, rushed at me. I dodged nimbly and turned to the chief and shaman. You want to expel me? I'll go myself. Honestly, with this tribe's quality, it's doomed anyway. 15. I turned and started walking out of the tribe. After just a few steps, the chief's icy voice rang out. Since he's already been marked by another beastman, let all the tribe's beastman alphas take their turn and see if he can withstand the pheromone battle. I twisted my head and gave him the middle finger. Idiot. Though the chief didn't understand the meaning, my expression told him it wasn't good. He immediately commanded someone to seize me. What could I do? Of course, I ran. Whoever runs slowly is a fool. Just a few steps in, I heard the sound of a wild beast lunging from behind. My body shivered. The hair on my neck stood on end. Then I felt a sudden chill as blood splashed onto me. Instinctively, I turned, and saw Lucas impaled through the shoulder by an ice spear. Ice spear. I blinked, and then a hand pressed my forehead and pulled me into a warm embrace. A clear, magnetic voice whispered in my ear, Ethan, don't be afraid. The next moment, James, carrying all the water containers, raised his hand slightly. Instantly, all the lids popped off, and the water transformed into crystalline ice spikes, poised to strike. All those times, by the river, the first time Lucas came to find me, when those alphas surrounded and humiliated me, it had been James helping me. So cool. My heart warmed instantly. As he prepared to launch the ice spikes, I grabbed his hand and tilted my head up to him. James, let's go. James frowned, his aura icy. But they're bullying you. Remembering what men usually can't resist online, I grabbed his hand, swayed my body, and softened my voice, acting cute, but I'm so hungry. As for them, they'll face their own consequences. You don't need to dirty your hands. The ice spikes fell back into the bamboo water containers. James, under the chief's horrified gaze, snorted coldly and led me out of the tribe openly. 16. In the following days, I wanted to build a home for myself. I initially thought the lake in the forest center was nice, but being so close to the tribe was annoying. So I chose a mountaintop. A waterfall ran from the top to the bottom, and there was a small lake up there. The scenery was beautiful, and many fruit trees grew nearby. James and I settled there. Under my guidance, this clever merfolk even built a treehouse for me. Green vines wrapped around it. I slid down from the top wearing a fur skirt. With a scream, James, who was tilling the soil below, caught me in his arms. So fun. So thrilling. Be careful. I wrapped my arms around his neck, planting an excited kiss on his face. His silver eyes softened, full of affection. I'd braided his long silver hair into a twist with the vines, letting it fall over his chest. James, you're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. His prominent nose nuzzled me. It tickled, making me instinctively pull back. He grabbed my waist. A fresh scent of seawater spread, immediately followed by the intense aroma of roses from his glands. He pressed against my lips, voice slightly pleading. Ethan, I want to touch you. My face instantly burned red. Soon, by default, I let him carry me back to the treehouse. A flash of lightning streaked across the horizon, with thunder and rain. The rainy season had arrived. The next morning, looking at the relentless rain outside, I felt a bit worried, but thinking of the meat I'd salted with sea salt and the huge merfolk beside me, I felt reassured. Though the rainy season was always wet, making the mind slightly uncomfortable. How long will this rain last? James held me lazily in his arms. 80 tides. One tide twice a day, 80 times, that's 40 days. James lowered his head, his tail braided like mine brushing my face, tickling. 40 days, what's that? I suddenly sat up. Of course, the tribe's beastmen didn't know numbers or the concept of time. The only way James could know how many tides was through merfolk memory. My eyes sparkled as I looked at him. I'll teach you numbers. He leaned closer, winking mischievously. Kiss me, Ethan, and I'll learn. Because he was so cute, I grabbed his face and kissed him hard. Then, as it escalated, the seawater scent mixed with roses, pressing us onto the bed, repeatedly invading. 17. We lived happily on the mountaintop. The animals and beastmen below suffered. Alphas could transform, so it was bearable, But the small Omega and sub-beastmen who couldn't transform suffered the most. On the 15th day of the rainy season, sensing the humidity, he said, "The water is rising." I froze, then realized, a flood was coming. 3 days later, I woke up, James gone. I opened the window and saw him standing at a narrow cliff on the mountaintop, dozens of ice spikes floating beside him. "Why are you standing there?" Normally impatient, James's eyes brightened at my voice. "These are the abandoned cubs and sub-omegas left by the tribe." Abandoned? I dashed down the ladder. I had disliked other beastmen, even Lucas and Oliver, but seeing 2 pale-faced sub-omegas and a dozen cubs of various species, my brain instantly short-circuited. Too cute. I squatted down and reached toward a wet little furball, sticking it to my face. It froze for a moment, then stumbled toward me. I cupped it in my hands and pressed it to my face. So soft, obedient, adorable. Is this the joy of fluffy creatures? The little furball's coat puffed under my touch, eyes wide and innocent. I squatted, looking up at James with sparkling eyes. "Can I keep them?" His lips pressed tight. He didn't answer for a long moment. Finally, in a slightly aggrieved voice, "They're not our children." I paused, looking at the little furball in my hands and the dozen others around us. He was right. These weren't our kids. He's a merfolk. I'm human. The most we could ever have is one merfolk child. So, if we're going to play, it has to be now. Then let them be our children's playmates. James finally nodded. We successfully took in the 2 sub-omega beastmen and the dozen little cubs. 18. The 2 sub-omegas came from a nearby tribe. Both had recently given birth, and the smallest 2 furballs were their children. The other dozen little beastmen were the youngest, unable to take human form and incapable of long migrations. When the flood came, the older beastmen who couldn't move simply gave up hope. Only these 2 sub-omegas refused to abandon their children, forcing themselves to stay and carry the little ones all the way here. The water rose quickly. With no other options, we had to lift the cubs up the mountain on wooden boards, hoping to escape the flood. That's when we ran into each other. I took clean furs and helped the sub-omegas dry the little furballs, placing them in other empty huts that were being prepared for food storage. Then I cooked some meat into a broth to raise their body temperatures. Watching them devour it hungrily, a deep sense of satisfaction swelled in my chest. Back in the treehouse, I noticed James seemed unhappy. "You're upset I took them in?" He let me cup his face, nodding obediently. "Yes, I'm upset." I kissed his lips. "I know you just want the 2 of us together, and I want that too." His eyes brightened. "But if we hadn't saved them today, they'd have died. They're so small. If we ever have children, they'll start off weak too. I want them to have people like us to help if they're ever in danger." I hugged him gently. "I don't want him to grow up lonely like you." He paused slightly. "Lonely?" I ran my fingers through his long hair, imitating his tone. "Don't be afraid. I'm here." He smiled beautifully. "With you, I'm not afraid." 19. A few days later, the tribe at the mountain base could no longer hold out, and the entire tribe began moving up the mountain. On the first day, Oliver, following Lucas, shoved one of the sub-omegas I had taken in. The child fell, scraping his arm on a rock. I was furious and stomped my foot. I thought in a disaster, humans, beastmen should help each other. But clearly, a dog can't change its habits. Let them rot. James, who had been waiting for me to speak, instantly raised the ice spikes at his side. Lucas, who had already suffered from James several times, retreated first, followed by the rest of the tribe. But by then, the floodwaters had reached the foot of the mountain. They couldn't advance, and they couldn't retreat. We were forced to live next to these disgusting people. They dug a cave halfway up the mountain, cold and damp. Our house, built with thick earthen bricks, was warm. James even made me a few stone pots and slabs. The 4 adults gathered around the stone slab. In front of it laid meat, fish, and shrimp sizzling on the surface. I stroked the little furballs in my hands as the food sizzled. Life really felt beautiful, except for having a group of disgusting neighbors. That part was unpleasant. Several times, the people below tried to climb up, even sneaking at night to steal our meat. Sensing them, James pierced 2 of their legs with ice spikes, dragging them down the mountain to the halfway point. By the 30th day of the rainy season, the tribe's food ran out. Oliver, along with my original parents, stood in the only path up, demanding I meet them. I held the umbrella James had made for me, biting into the delicious roasted meat Henry and Mason had cooked, watching the 3 of them standing in the rain. Seeing the meat, all 3 unconsciously swallowed. For a moment, their hungry, wolf-like gazes made it clear, if James weren't here, they would immediately try to snatch the meat. "Why are you here?" Speak quickly, Ethan. It wasn't really us before, don't blame us. But now the water's risen. There's no food at home, please help us. My mother's eyes were full of fake tears as she spoke. I took a bite of meat and nodded. Oh, there's more. I even held the meat to James's lips. He smiled and took a bite. You must have food. Giving it to outsiders is a waste. Give it to us instead. I cut her off with a cold laugh. Give it to you? For me to die outside? Don't come looking for me again. I have no food. If there was. I shoved the last piece of meat into my mouth. It was so big my cheeks puffed out, mumbling through the meat. There isn't any now either. 20. I was about to leave when I heard a thud. Oliver had fallen to his knees. His face was pale, his body much thinner than when I had left, clearly starved for days. Though his belly stuck out a little, tears streamed down his face as he crawled forward, trying to grab my fur clothing, but James's ice spike blocked his movement. Ethan, you've helped so many cubs. I know you're kind, please help me too. Even if you can't forgive me, at least help the cubs inside me. His swollen belly came into view. He thought I would soften, but instead, I answered lightly, you chose this yourself. After sending him away, I couldn't help but feel a little distracted. I slapped my own face, muttering in frustration, Ethan, being a saint never ends well. James gently rubbed my cheek, concerned. That night, I still felt a little guilty for being so harsh. James came in from outside, tossing a long piece of fur in front of me. What's this? James patted my head. The cubs in his belly. I froze, then grew angry. He lied to me. James nodded. Yes, I wondered if I'd been too harsh, but it turned out not only was I not harsh, I might even have a bit of a saint complex. I crawled into James's arms, fingers wandering over his abs. I'm so mad, so angry. The muscles tightened under my touch. Eventually, with reddened eyes, he pressed me onto the bed. The fur clothing barely covered me, and his sharp fingers tore it apart in an instant. I tried to flee, grabbing the bed, but he pulled me back. Ethan, be good. No. 21. In the final days of the rainy season, those people went mad with hunger, stuffing their bellies with anything, fur, bark, leaves. At first, some tried to reach the mountaintop, but James restrained himself, not wanting to seriously hurt them. Rain season injuries were dangerous and could get infected. Once, they even tricked a little beastman cub, intending to cook it. If Henry and Mason hadn't discovered it in time, James would have saved the cub, or it would have been gone. After that, anyone who tried to approach the mountaintop got an ice spike straight to the chest from James. Over time, they truly dared not come. Only the trees halfway up suffered. When the rainy season ended, the floodwaters slowly receded. I began organizing the mountaintop with Henry and Mason while James had already tidied up the houses. As for Oliver and his parents, they never tried to steal food from me again. When the flood receded, Lucas ignored them completely, no longer mentioning forming a bond. Instead, he paired up with another attractive sub-Omega in the tribe. The tribe, who once mocked me openly, now directed all scorn toward him. Even sayings like useless Omegas must bond before the rainy season were now twisted to before winter. His parents' attitude did a complete turnaround. I sighed, hope he thought it was worth it. Later, Lucas broke a leg while hunting, losing all his former prestige. The tribe's leadership made poor decisions, backed him against the crowd, and when the people rebelled, the tribe collapsed, eventually absorbed by another. But that's all later. When it came time to go hunting, James suddenly paused, as if deep in thought. Finally, he said, Ethan, let's build our own tribe. I was confused. James was always independent. Why the sudden desire to form a tribe? What's wrong? He shook his head. If I leave, those people might come back to hurt you. I can take you hunting, but they're the ones you care about. If they're hurt, you'll be upset. I don't want that. My heart burned from the simplicity of his words. I rose on my tiptoes and kissed the corner of his lips. Okay, then protect me along with your cubs, Chief. James froze. Then his gaze slid from my face down to my abdomen. I tapped his head lightly. Idiot. I meant later. Later. James touched his head, eyes shining. I'll work hard. What effort could there be? That night, my throat went hoarse from shouting, and I realized just how much effort he put into wanting a cub. 22. Long after, James and I built our own tribe. We constructed warm, windowed homes, cultivated crops, hunted, fired pottery, built an army, reinforced fortifications, and provided safe homes for many sub-Omegas. We even opened schools for little beastmen and sub-Omegas to learn. Standing atop the mountain, I jumped down from James's embrace and waved at a wide-eyed little kid. Proudly, I pointed to the brightly lit city below. Look, this is the land I conquered for you.